In Hollywood's glittering world, pushing limits and craving more can be commonplace, but some celebrities crossed boundaries that even Golden Age superstars couldn't imagine. In this narrative, we'll explore actors who knew no limits when it came to satisfying their physical desires. You'll be surprised to hear the well-known names who appear perfectly normal on the outside, but were actually slaves to their passions. Joan Crawford's appetite for love was the result not only of her 4 marriages but also of countless rumored affairs with both men and women. She was known as an actress who used the bedroom as a career ladder, a widespread tactic among actresses looking to secure their place in the film industry. Crawford was incredibly ambitious, and her relationships were often seen as calculated moves to advance her career. She was rumored to have been involved with Hollywood's most powerful men, including MGM head Louis B. Mayer. Crawford's bisexuality was widely discussed behind closed doors, with rumors linking her to women like Barbara Stanwyck and Marilyn Monroe. The actress was described as insatiable, using sex as both a tool for power and pleasure. Crawford's sexual exploits were largely overshadowed by her image as a fiercely independent and domineering woman. This combination made her one of Hollywood's most enduring and scandalous figures. Her tumultuous love life and passionate relationships led to her being labeled a sex maniac by the standards of the time. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe's sexual persona was meticulously crafted by Hollywood, but it mirrored her real-life struggles with intimacy and validation. Her affair with President John F. Kennedy is one of the most famous stories of her life, symbolizing her status as both a sexual fantasy and a political liability. Her breathy voice and provocative public appearances, such as her famous Happy Birthday performance for JFK, cemented her reputation as Hollywood's ultimate sex symbol. However, Monroe's personal life was marked by a deep need for emotional connection, which she often sought through sexual relationships. Her marriages to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller, and her rumored affairs with high-profile men, reflected a pattern of tumultuous, often self-destructive relationships. Monroe's sexual image was inseparable from her identity, and she often felt trapped by the very persona that made her famous. Her need for male attention and validation, paired with her beauty and vulnerability, led to her being viewed as a tragic nymphomaniac, someone whose unquenchable sexual desires were both her greatest asset and her undoing. Lana Turner. Lana Turner's tumultuous love life was filled with scandal, but her affair with mobster Johnny Stompanato cemented her as a symbol of sexual excess and danger. Stompanato, known for his ties to organized crime, was not only physically abusive, but also drew Turner into an intense, sexually charged relationship. Their affair made front-page news when Turner's daughter, Cheryl Crane, killed Stompanato in an act of protection during one of his violent outbursts. This shocking incident added fuel to Turner's already scandalous image. She married 7 times, and each relationship added another layer to her reputation as a woman driven by passion and desire. Turner was frequently involved with younger men, and her affairs often became tabloid fodder. The combination of glamour, beauty, and a tumultuous personal life filled with passion and violence made her a prime candidate for the nymphomaniac label in the public's eyes, though much of her personal struggle stemmed from deeper emotional issues. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner's beauty was legendary, but what truly set her apart was her hunger for life, love, and sex. Gardner's relationships were frequently marked by intense passion, jealousy, and sexual exploration. Her affair and subsequent marriage to Frank Sinatra became Hollywood legend, not only because of the fiery arguments and physical altercations, but also because of the raw sexual energy that seemed to define their relationship. Gardner was outspoken about her desires. She reportedly once said, "I like my whiskey old and my men young." During her time in Spain, she had famous affairs with Spanish bullfighters, taking great pleasure in the excitement and danger of these relationships. She also had liaisons with figures like Howard Hughes and Ernest Hemingway, both of whom were captivated by her wild spirit and unbridled sexuality. Her insatiable appetite for adventure, love, and sex, combined with her refusal to settle down or conform to societal expectations, made her a poster child for sexual liberation in an era when such behavior was often condemned for women. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead was one of the few Golden Age stars who openly embraced her sexual identity, both her promiscuity and her bisexuality. In an era when most stars carefully guarded their private lives to maintain a squeaky clean image, Bankhead flaunted her affairs and indulgences. She was known for hosting wild parties where sex and drug use were commonplace. Bankhead had numerous lovers of both genders and was unapologetic about her sexual desires. She was notorious for her sexual appetite, and Hollywood gossip columns frequently reported on her liaisons with both men and women, including actresses like Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich. Bankhead's daring sexual exploits, combined with her penchant for living on the edge, she famously abused alcohol and drugs, led to her being labeled a sex maniac and nymphomaniac in an age of repression. Bankhead stood out as a woman who refused to conform to societal norms, making her a dangerous yet fascinating figure in Hollywood. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor's love life was as iconic as her acting career. Taylor married 8 times to 7 different men, but it was her affair with Richard Burton that truly scandalized the world. Taylor and Burton's relationship was filled with passion, jealousy, and an almost obsessive sexual connection that played out before the entire world. The pair met while filming Cleopatra, and despite both being married to others at the time, they embarked on one of the most famous and fiery affairs in Hollywood history. Their tumultuous romance was marked by constant breakups and reconciliations, often fueled by their mutual alcoholism and sexual obsession. Taylor's numerous other marriages and affairs, including a scandalous relationship with hotel heir Nikki Hilton and her highly publicized romance with Eddie Fisher, who left Debbie Reynolds for her, further cemented her as a woman who lived for passion and romance. Taylor was often labeled a nymphomaniac for her voracious appetite for men and love, and her larger-than-life persona only added to this myth. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn was one of Hollywood's golden age most infamous sexual adventurers. His dashing good looks and swashbuckling roles made him a heartthrob, but it was his off-screen antics that truly earned him his reputation. His love for younger women led to multiple scandals, including his 1942 statutory rape trial, in which 2 teenage girls accused him of sexual assault. Although he was acquitted, the trial cemented Flynn's reputation as a reckless playboy who lived life without limits. Flynn's hedonistic lifestyle included constant affairs, alcohol and drug use, and he reportedly indulged in orgies and public sexual acts. His mansion, known as Mulholland Farm, became legendary for the wild parties he hosted, where sex, drugs, and alcohol flowed freely. Flynn's open bragging about his sexual exploits further contributed to his image as a Hollywood sex addict, with seemingly insatiable desires. The phrase "in like Flynn" became cultural shorthand for sexual success, further cementing his legacy as one of Hollywood's most notorious sexual adventurers. Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr's sexual allure was a defining feature of her career from the very beginning. Her nude scenes in the 1933 film Ecstasy were considered scandalous at the time, and Lamarr quickly became known as one of Hollywood's most daring actresses. Off-screen, Lamarr's personal life was filled with passion and multiple marriages. She married 6 times, and her relationships were often fraught with drama and infidelity. Lamarr was rumored to have had numerous affairs with powerful men in Hollywood, including producer Howard Hughes, and was known to attend wild Hollywood parties where sexual experimentation was common. Lamarr's beauty and intellect, she co-invented frequency-hopping technology that laid the foundation for modern Wi-Fi, made her a complex figure. But it was her sexuality that dominated public perception. Her multiple marriages and sexual liberation led many to label her a sex freak in an era when women were expected to conform to more traditional roles. Vivien Leigh. Leigh's sexual history was closely intertwined with her mental health struggles, making her both a tragic and alluring figure. Her marriage to Laurence Olivier, which began as a passionate affair while both were married to others, was marked by intense emotions and sexual chemistry. Leigh's bipolar disorder often exacerbated her behavior, leading her to engage in impulsive sexual relationships outside her marriage. While married to Olivier, she reportedly had affairs with multiple men and women, and her manic episodes were frequently marked by sexual promiscuity. Leigh's mental health issues, combined with her beauty and sexual allure, contributed to her being perceived as a woman whose sexuality was both dangerous and uncontrollable. Despite her fragile mental state, Leigh remained one of Hollywood's most desired women, and her tragic love life only heightened her mythic status. Joan Blondell. Joan Blondell was known for her sultry, street-smart characters on screen, but her personal life was equally colorful. She married 3 times, and her relationships were often the subject of tabloid gossip. Blondell's reputation as a sexually liberated woman stemmed from her refusal to conform to Hollywood's expectations of women. She had numerous affairs and was known to enjoy relationships with some of the industry's most powerful men. Blondell's wit and charm only added to her appeal, and her sexual independence in a male-dominated industry made her stand out. Though not as scandal-ridden as some of her peers, Blondel's open embrace of her sexuality and independence earned her a reputation as a liberated woman who lived life on her own terms. Ingrid Bergman. Bergman's affair with Italian director Roberto Rossellini in the late 1940s caused an international scandal that nearly ruined her career. Bergman was married at the time, and her affair with Rossellini, followed by the birth of their child out of wedlock, was considered scandalous by American standards. The U.S. Senate denounced her as a perverted instrument of evil, reflecting the puritanical outrage her actions sparked. Despite her wholesome image on screen, Bergman's sexual liberation and defiance of societal norms made her a target of public condemnation. Though not as promiscuous as others on this list, Bergman's affair was seen as a brazen act of sexual defiance, earning her a reputation as a woman who let her sexual desires guide her, even at the cost of her career and reputation. Veronica Lake. Veronica Lake's life was a cautionary tale of Hollywood excess, fame, and tragedy. Lake's seductive femme fatale roles on screen mirrored her troubled personal life. She had multiple failed marriages and struggled with alcoholism, which contributed to her reputation as a difficult and self-destructive figure. Lake's sexual allure was often at the center of her public persona, and her affairs with powerful men in Hollywood were well known. Lake's life spiraled out of control as her career declined, and her sexual relationships were seen as part of the downward spiral that eventually led to her demise. Lake's beauty and sexuality were central to her fame, but they also contributed to her undoing as she became a victim of Hollywood's obsession with youth, beauty, and sexual appeal. Each of these stars, whether through their open embrace of sexuality, scandalous affairs, or reputations as insatiable lovers, contributed to Hollywood's legacy of sex and scandal. These actors and actresses became symbols of excess, desire, and in many cases, tragedy, as their personal lives played out in the public eye, feeding the tabloid machine and cementing their reputations as sex maniacs. To one of Hollywood's most desired women, and her tragic love life only heightened her mythic status.